I don't know who any of those people are. I promise you.
And does it?
Sam Firth, I know.
Harry, I mean, you're looking at the site now. Does it link? Does it link to things such as bring back fox hunting?
Absolutely.
.com?
Yeah, gas the poor. That sort of
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure. Let me just throw this question to the two non-Rufuses here on the mics. Sammy, you're injured, you're hurt, you're hurting. How are you feeling? Is there a Sammy fan site?
No, but I'm all right with that.
You don't mind?
I don't mind, no.
Do you feel gutted?
I didn't want the verbal tirade from you that Rufus just got. I'm happy being unloved. That's fine.
Obviously, much of my anger is directed at the fact that I believe on there they do say, surely it's only a matter of time before he has his own show.
Oh, say that.
Well, they insinuate as much, saying that you're a natural for radio, but, and this is, I think I quote, too good looking for radio. Something which naturally stuck in my craw.
Yeah.
Related group, by the way, Henry V.
Brilliant. Okay, well, Harry, just finally your verdict on this. You pretty gutted? You've been a mainstay of this show since before Rufus joined.
Yeah, but I sometimes go out of my way to upset and annoy people, so I wouldn't expect anything like this.
Likewise. Yeah, same as me. You Never Can Tell, Chuck Berry, that song of course made famous by the film Pulp Fiction. I'm quietly obsessed with Chuck Berry. He is of course one of the most depraved men in rock and roll, lest we forget. A man who of course once was found in his car with an underage girl, and his defence was he was hoping to befriend her so she could teach him Spanish, so he could use Spanish in some of his songwriting. Genius. Extraordinary. But of course most famous for his owning a restaurant and including some cameras in the ladies' lavatories, which... But, I mean, if you're Chuck Berry, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And, he obviously, they got found. I don't exactly specifically know where they were positioned, but naturally, he got caught and problems ensued. But it got me thinking, your favourite rock and roll debauchery? There's been a lot, there's been a lot of, some tittle-tattle and hearsay, some, of course, confirmed. But I thought I'd put that out there to the listeners. Your favourite kind of rock and roll stories that you've heard of debauchery, depravity, things that we can talk about on the air. Not necessarily depravity, maybe just extraordinary rock and roll myths and mythologies and stories, things which have always stuck in your head. Perhaps also finding it difficult to listen to. I can't really listen to Chuck Berry's songs with their kind of innocent, tinkly piano and guitar without thinking of his crazed face, probably just wiring up a camera at 3 a.m. inside a lavatory store. It just seems particularly strange and perverse. So 64046, you can get in touch. Stephen.6music@bbc.co.uk. Jude's passing me a note, let me read it. I know. I'm a complete professional, Jude. I've won multiple awards, none for radio. But nevertheless, I know I've looked ahead to see what we've got, what we're going to do on the show. You can trust me. But since we've been talking, Rufus's fan site has Harry, what you fill us in? It's been
6 members, and they're all having a chat amongst themselves.
Really,
which is upsetting because really they should be listening to the show.
You'd have thought so.
Full attention.
Yeah. Do you feel that you can keep an eye on that? Perhaps monitor some of those conversations.
I'm all over it like a rash.
Thanks very much. Also, if you have a MySpace page or a what's this called, Facebook page. That's a kind of, there's either a fan site or a fan club, or maybe it's sort of worthwhile, it's charitable, maybe you're a Trekkie, whatever you call. We've already seen that by merely mentioning it on the show, you can double your audience. Let us know, 64046, stephen.6music@bbc.co.uk. This is perfect public service broadcasting. Let us know, we'll see if we can...
At least 35 people listen to this.
Exactly, as we've proven right here. So, we can give you a shout out, and we can see if that makes any impact on your audience. Exciting stuff. So, regular Six Music listeners may be aware that the Electric Proms 2007 was taking place, I think, most of the week. And I think, did it start with Mark Ronson doing his extraordinary performance with lots of great guest appearances? Paul McCartney played, and a number of other people. And so we got a couple of live tracks that were recorded as part of this Electric Proms season. And here's one of them, Banquet from Block Party. Come on, Jude, press the buttons, woman.
It's got quite a start.
Well, that's not good enough. Live last night at the BBC's Electric Proms, that's Block Party. And if you have digital television, obviously don't do it during the show, but you can press a red button and you can see kind of some of the filmed live performances of Block Party, and I think who else on the Kaiser Chiefs? Paul McCartney. And I actually was lucky enough to go to the Paul McCartney Electric Proms, which has happened I think on Thursday, and I was a massive Beatles fan, as everyone was when I was a teenager, and then somehow along the way, the Beatles, I sort of fallen out of love with the Beatles, or maybe they'd fallen out of love with me, who knows. But yeah, so I was just thinking, so they said, do you want to come along to Paul McCartney? I thought, well, it's not, because I'm trying to tick off seeing all the old rockers before they die. Yeah. And so I've managed to see, obviously, the Stones, and, a lot of great ones. Prince, obviously, recently.
Brian
Wilson I've seen.
Springsteen?
And Springsteen, obviously, he's still a young man. And the only person I haven't seen, actually, is Neil Young, because his concerts apparently can be very variable, so I'm a bit wary of him. Dylan, obviously. That's my impression of Dylan. Just to give you a flavour of the concert. He's just perverse in concert. He just stands I remember he stood at the side of the stage, thus making himself almost invisible to half the audience, which is nice of him. So I went on to McCartney, and I was thinking, started with Magical Mystery Tour. I thought, hang on a minute, wait a minute. Once he got to the track we're going to play in a second, Got to Get Into My Life, I was choking up. I was thinking, it came flooding back, Suddenly my love for the Beatles suddenly came back, and I remembered, my God, this man's written some amazing music, and I was quite overcome, and I was quite tearing up singing along. By the time we get to Hey Jude, and he's just singing, just the guys, nah, 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 no, just the girls, nah. Oh, man alive, I was just swept away, and add to that the fact that afterwards, somehow, a relative of his, former TV impressionist Kate Robbins, was there. She's ready. She's like a cousin or something, right? And she said, come in the VIP section. Went back there, got to meet Macca. Just shook the man's hand. He was looking great on stage. He had a look in a little thin black tie. He had a bit of a Pete Doherty look to him. Was great voice. The band were dynamite. When he came backstage, had a sort of pale blue jacket. I thought, I'm not sure about that, Paul. I was just about to say something. Chris Evans piped up. And so obviously I never got to really express my views on Paul's jacket. It looked like he'd borrowed it off Chris de Burgh, circus of 1985. I thought, that's not right, Paul. But when you meet someone like that, again, you're overwhelmed because you think there's nothing I can possibly say that's going to somehow sort of get. I want to get inside your brain. I want to think about all those great moments, when you're with Lennon and right. But obviously, I just went, enjoyed the concert. That was it, nothing. But anyway, so it was dynamite. It was fantastic. And if you need reminding of how good the band are, here's the Beatles. From the Revolver album, of course, Got to Get You Into My Life by the Beatles. We have to go to the news. After that, we will be hearing tunes from the Pigeonhole and talking further about other stuff. Bye. In Spiral Carpets, dragging me down on the Steve Show, BBC Six Music, and welcome along if you've just joined us. And we have been investigating Super Posh Rufus's Facebook page. Can you currently tell me how many people have contributed, who logged on, have joined? Is that how it works, to join?
Yeah, let me just update it.
Thanks so much. Well, while you're doing that, Harry, I should remind you, the listener, that I don't just have my posse here in the studio for chit-chat reasons. I also have them because they come in, they contribute music to the show. And last week, Rufus's Choice, Delamitri, was controversial in some quarters. I think generally most of us here agreed that we enjoyed it, but there were some people out there, Delamitri, we can't do that on Six Music. And we said, no, we can, because we just have. And then they got in touch, and it became a battle of wits and war, and of course we in the end are the ones pressing the buttons so we can play what we want. And it got me thinking, guys. It got me thinking, firstly, obviously, as we've noticed already on Facebook, Rufus has been described as having Catholic tastes, which I've taken to mean conservative, and Delamitri, I guess, is the epitome of that. But, I thought, no. Do you know what? No. Music snobbery. There's no place on the Steve Show for music snobbery. If you want to play Delamitri, if you want to play classic pop, then you should be allowed to do so, all right? So that's why this week, the gang here, I've forced them all to choose favourite pop tunes. Tunes which you would generally think wouldn't have a place on Six Music, but which I say no. Maybe there's a quality built in, some inherent quality that means, yes, they should be heard. And so we'll be hearing from Sammy and Harry a bit later on, but as he was the guy that initiated it last week, Rufus, what have you brought in which you feel that perhaps it's a misunderstood song, perhaps? It's one that you wouldn't expect to hear on Six?
I like the fact that you just said, some people like music, and yes, it should be heard. Because I brought in the band Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
now I'm wary.
Yeah.
I'm wary about Yes because they do epitomise, prog rock at its most excessive.
That's right. Prog rock, when it entered its early 80s phase and people like Trevor Horn got involved, got very interested in using kind of complicated guitar riffs, samples from orchestras, the kind of sound you recognise from Top of the Pops, the same sort of era during the Countdown. And I've chosen probably their biggest chart hit. I think it was #1 in the US, Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Owner of a Lonely Heart. Now, of course, Yes, in in their 70s heyday would often do sort of rock versions of classical tunes. I think, punk often is cited as being the thing which kind of rebelled against prog rock, particularly I think by the point that Rick Wakeman was coming on stage dressed as a wizard. It was getting probably a touch excessive.
I love that, the whole Tales from Topographic Oceans and all that sort of thing. I think
so
when I'm older and have more leisure time, I'll get seriously into the back catalogue of Rick Wakeman.
Is it Yes, or is it called Tusk?
That was Fleetwood Mac.
Is there another? There's another. Anyway, I just remember seeing it in a charity shop once, and on the cover, it's got sort of tanks and sort of various armoured vehicles. But what's this? They've got the tails of an armadillo or the wings of an eagle. It's as though all somehow machinery and the natural world have somehow combined. It was a sobering vision of what? I've no idea. Of someone's artistic mind. It looked like something drawn by sixth formers, and I think that was what was always great about it.
They're always really bad at self-editing as well. That's what's really good about prog rock, is the albums go on for hours, and there's hundreds of them. There's a good story that I heard Rick Wakeman tell, actually. He played, obviously, some of the venues he plays aren't that huge and massive nowadays, and he was playing quite a small gig in, I think, a village hall, and this little old lady came up to him at the end and said, "You're awfully good, you should do an album." And Rickman said, "Well, actually, I've done 106. And she went, "Well, have you sold all of them?"
Lovely, yeah, no. But we should point out that, of course, Only and Lonely Heart, I mean, everyone knows the tune, but it's not at them at their most excessive. It's far more poppy and sort of mainstream, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And there's on Wikipedia, there's countless references of people who've covered it. Frank Zappa covered it. It makes appearances in endless TV shows. It's just a really, really good rock song, I think, and I hope people don't object to it too much.
Let's hear it. Yes, Owner of a Lonely Heart, by the choice of Rufus, Super Posh Rufus, on this week's Steve Show, and all of my guests here in the studio are going to be choosing tunes which they feel are perhaps a little misunderstood, pop rock or classic rock anthems which wouldn't normally find a place on Six Music, but which we feel we can breathe new life into. The album I was referring to was actually by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Someone emailed in. It was called Tarkus, not Tusk, and we managed to find a picture online there of the inlay cover. As I say, it looks like it's been drawn by quite a good sixth former, and it's so pretentious. Rufus, you apparently it should be able to take over this programme, according to your Facebook fans. How would you describe some of those images? You're an artist yourself.
Yeah, you're quite right about the kind of the A-level quality of it. There's a picture of what can only be described as a bad caricature of Jack Straw, with a kind of lion's mane rearing back as his own scorpion's tail comes over his head. There's a kind of an enormous pterodactyl that's also a kind of B-52 bomber.
Yes.
A spewing volcano with spider's legs. It's a terrifying vision of the future.
It is a terrifying, or is it the past?
Yes.
Who knows? But it's interesting to think that in the 70s those albums did sell by the bucket load. It was when rock was sort of seemingly all the rock and roll labels were run by 14-year-olds.
Yeah, well, talking about Wakeman, Journey to the Centre of the Earth was fantastic. My dad used to play that endlessly, and it did go on endlessly.
I don't think I've ever heard it. Is it a musical adaptation of the book?
Absolutely, it's just wonderful. Maybe I'll play an edited slice one week. It's just superb.
Or not. We'll see how we go.
They play a lot on the Freak Zone.
Right, so yes, the Freak Zone comes on after us, and very much the sort of tunes you may well hear on there. And if you have a favourite tune which you feel that perhaps wouldn't normally find a place on Six Music, but you want to suggest it to us, remind us of some little gem. I was toying with some classic Boo, playing some classic Betty Boo. Maybe another time. I do love the Boo. But 64046 stephen.sixmusic@bbc.co.uk, your favourite kind of pop tunes that you don't feel should be played on Six Music, but why not? As I say, music snobbery, no place for it on the Steve Show. We'll hear choices from Harry and Sammy a bit later. We're going to delve into the pigeonhole, though. This is new music that has been sent in to me, and I've been listening through it, wading through it, and we've, I think, played them in the past on the show, and I know it had a mixed reaction from people here, but we'll hear this new single from Spit Disco, I Know Kung Fu. Can I say the name of the band on the radio?
No, I tried eating.
Can I blur it into one?
It's Shidisco.
What about Shidisco? Shidisco. You can't get me on that, can you? Shidisco, the man upstairs. Oh yeah, we're so rock and roll on Six Music, but we can't say the name